Right, time for my first crack, and I want to get stuck into the eggshells at Essendon because it would have been a pretty tough watch for Essendon fans seeing Massimo D'Ambrosio become basically an All-Australian contender at Hawthorn last year. But lightning has struck twice with Patrick Voss, another Essendon discard who has gone to Fremantle and become a serious player. He's kicked 30 goals this year for the Dockers and looms like a genuine difference maker. So he got delisted after a VFL Best and Fairest, basically because they weren't sure about his contested marking, his overhead marking. Was he a small man in a big man's body? What sort of target or what sort of player was he? Well, hasn't he made the Bombers pay? There's a bit of banter with the crowd, which I'm sure Justin Longmuir would take up with him. But this guy is box office. And coming into September, should they make it, he looms as one of the biggest wild cards for Fremantle. But when I mention the eggshells at Essendon, I think the awkward part of this all is there's been a bit of a revolving door at this football club. Now, let's go back to 2020 because we've seen this movie before, right? Joe Danaher walks out on the Bombers, the father-son gem, and the football club has a reckoning, right? They change the coach, the CEO, the president. They say, we need to fix the environment because we had 4 players walk out, including one particularly important one. And then you go through the list and Jake Stringer, well, you know, that's probably doesn't fit with their age profile anyway. But Sam Draper, amid all the talk about Nasiah Wanganeen-Malira, there has been no discussion about Sam Draper whatsoever. And this is history repeating itself. This is Danaher deja vu. 5 years on, we got the same situation. A key tool and a really important player is about to walk out on the Essendon Football Club to Adelaide or Brisbane, we think. Because why? Is it because of the injuries? I don't think, we're not talking about it as a money issue. I think all the offers are the same. So what is it? Is it still the environment that they tried to fix 5 years ago with Joe Danaher? And that's the eggshells that we're talking about, because this is on the president. This is on Dave Barham. He came in with a mandate for change. This football club should be better. And we know with all the injury issues, you know, 13 debutants, etc., it's tricky. But why is Sam Draper walking out on Essendon? Because that is the question they should be asking at this football club. Because as you know, Joey, you know how the compensation works as a free agent. He's unrestricted. He might not classify for first-round free agency compensation, which means the pick could be end of first round, which shuffles out to pick 30 this year. So they could get completely dudded on the Draper deal. They don't get a top 10 pick potentially. It becomes 30. And how does that look for the Bombers? How do you sell that to your membership base? What do you think about his exit? Do they benefit? And is there any sort of any reason for them wanting to let Sam Draper go, or have they got a problem that we just don't all talk about?
No, I think every individual circumstance is different. I don't know Sam Draper's reason, but probably, to be honest, they want success. It's a team that hasn't won a final for 20 years. They'd say some players will look at the grass is greener somewhere else.
He's the captain in waiting at Essendon. He's the man who's seen to be taken over from Zach Merritt. So he's the culture king, and he was playing his best footy before he had the Achilles injury. So he's do
you know the answer? Why does he want to leave?
A prize commodity. Well, if I was Essendon and I was the membership and the fan base, I'd be wanting this question answered, right? Because it's history repeating itself.
I think they've got the most gullible supporter base in the competition. They're just eating up what's being fed to them.
Yep.
And no one is really standing up to what's happening.
No.
And the jungle drums are beating strongly. And I think we're just hearing the initial phase. You know, the Zach Merritt discussion's bubbled around for weeks.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think he'll leave.
Cole Langford.
Yep.
Darcy Parish. So why is the revolving door at Essendon? Why do players want to leave? They try to fix it, and if Draper walks out the door, that means that they haven't fixed it. Is that fair? That's fair. 5 years on from the Danaher discussion.
Strong.
Right, we have to talk about to Optus Stadium, the big game. West Coast led this game against Adelaide, let's be honest, for the bulk of the match before the Crows finally clicked into gear. But this was one of the most impressive performances for the Eagles for the season before there was a bit of a takeover, Kingy, and it involved one of your favourite men.
Yeah, it did. The Stars stood tall late, but credit to West Coast, their pressure in the first half was enormous. And you can see what the coach is trying to implement, but the little magician, he did it again. He doesn't quite do it for 4 quarters, Joey, but this type of player don't do
when they need them.
Yeah, him and the bearded warrior, they just went crazy for the last 10 minutes and separated the game. Much to what we saw with Fremantle.
Had to find a way. Had to get the win.
When
the 4
you had
points.
to have it.
Yeah, and they stood up, and it was just the last goal to seal it. But credit to West Coast. I mean, they've shown glimpses of their brand throughout the year, whether it's a quarter, a half. They've done it for 3 quarters. This was probably 3.5 quarters of their brand. The handball game, the run, Tom McCarthy playing more midfield minutes, Chesser and Hewitt getting more opportunities, and it looked really good. So I think there's some. I know they've only got the 1 win, but they have taken some strides with what they're trying to play with their game style.
So we know about Dawson and Rankin and Thilthorpe. They were awesome when they needed to be. Saligo, Taylor and Pedlar were really important when the arm wrestle was on and the Stars weren't quite performing. Yeah. So there is more to them. The B set's coming through and playing their part.
They've got a massive game on Saturday night. The Crows, they take on Collingwood. I've got everything on the line. You'll catch it only on Fox on Saturday night. Can't wait for it. What about on Friday night? Because the Cats are cruising, and I don't know, a lot of discussion around Jeremy Cameron, whether it was a distraction at all. It didn't feel like they were playing their best footy against the Bombers, but they certainly did enough. They got a lot more class in the midfield.
Yeah, they can do that, the Cats, sometimes. You're not sure how well they've played when they win by 40 points, but there was a clear gap between the two teams, where Essendon were at with the side they fielded and this Geelong team. And just 2 examples of some vision that I think this is a great learning for Essendon, but it also reminds the competition of the power run this Geelong team have. So this ball came out of defence. It was a free kick. But Angus Clark there, right? He won Essendon's 2K time trial. He's meant to be their best runner at the club. Everyone's praised him. Well, there's a next level when you've got Max Holmes that you have to chase. And this was only in the second quarter. He just couldn't go with Max Holmes. So as much as Angus Clark is going to be a great player for the club, he's an elite runner, that's the difference. Max Holmes takes it to another level. And then there's just one more example. So this kick goes to Brian Myers. Just keep an eye on Myers later. But watch Smith. So here's Gresham. You want to play Jade Gresham? No worries. You're going to get some things offensively, but this is what you're going to get defensively. So that's okay. If that's the way that you want to pick your team, it's going to make it hard to win. So Bailey Smith creates the overlap, which is why Geelong always have so many avenues to score. And then Myers, who was the player involved in the mark way up the field, let him run past 6 Essendon players and kick the goal. So Geelong, the most powerful running team in the competition. They're talls, they're smalls, but there's also a big gap and hopefully some learnings for Essendon for next season.
They're mature players with big tanks.
Yeah, they can run.
Brian Myers is the wild card. He really is. And Daniel Horn put this on the radar a couple of weeks ago. He said, just keep your eye on the changes, the subtle changes that Chris is making. And this could be a boom. Involved in 1 every 3 Geelong scores at the moment. He's different. He sees the game differently. We talk about Hayden Young and Isaac Rankin and these guys. I think you have to put him in the conversation. Just because of his...
Looks different, that's all.
He does different things, different angles. He's looking one way, kicking it another. I love what he's doing. So since he's gone in, which is the last 4 weeks, only Max Holmes has had more score involvements in the competition. So this is a magnet that I think in 2 or 3 weeks' time, you'll talk about tagging. You'll have to put some plans in place.
Tag Brian Myers.
Because you don't really go with Bailey Smith, and you can't really go with Holmes. They're different beasts. This guy is an uncontested warrior who finds little pockets of space. You can clamp this guy. And I think he's going to be such a headache over the next few... I know I'm finding myself... I'm scratching my head thinking, am I watching too much footy? Do I need to lay down? But I think Brian Myers is a player that you're going to be heavily concerned about going into a final series.
Gone from small forward to midfield. Match winner, says David King. I like that. Got the unusual kicking style. What about their management? You touched on this before.
Yeah, so their health discussion's a beauty because they haven't missed a beat. And I look at the last 5 or 6 weeks. It's around 18. Smith come back in, he was ill. He went out the next week ill. Stengel would miss for family reasons. No change. They managed Dangerfield and Martin. Yet Henry got injured, and we'll find out more about that over the next couple of days. They've used the least amount of players in the competition, and they've had 19 of the 23 play every game.
Steady.
This is managing your squad, your club, to within an inch of its life, to give yourself the best chance at winning the flag. I don't know if they've got the best list in the competition, but it's irrelevant what you start with. It's what you enter the finals with that counts. So their 23 will be as good as anyone's 23. And if Brisbane are missing 8 of their 23, you know what? They'll get smacked by that.
Yep.
Because it's who rocks up on the big days that is it all that matters. And I love what they're doing. I love how they've handled it. Let's see where it takes them.
Had the luxury of resting Jack Martin and Patrick Dangerfield, but this is their big test. On the way home, you'll see it on Sunday on Fox against an in-form Sydney Swans. Cannot wait for that one.